We know that it's inevitable that the price of gold and silver will rise in the future, the value. What are you saying, Rick Rule? Everybody who's invested in the metals sector knows who Rick Rule is. Heck, you know how much YouTube kids watch these days? This is what I was greeted with this morning from my 10-year-old daughter.
Just because something is inevitable does not mean it is imminent. Rick Rule said that.
So when Rick Rule speaks, we know he's talking from a place of wisdom and experience. But what does that mean for us as we move into the coming months and quarters? What does it mean for the price of the precious metals and the precious metal mining stocks? Let's talk about a few other things that Rick Rule has also said. Thank you for joining me today here in the basement. I'm honored that you decided to take a little of your time to come down here and talk about gold, silver, precious metal mining stocks. You're always welcome here. If you could subscribe, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you want, turn on the little bell notifications. That way you will get notified every time I put out a new video. What did Rick Rule say? Yes, he said that oftentimes in many of his stocks, he'll have to endure a 50% or greater drawdown. Well, I saw that. Actually, somebody put that as a comment in one of my videos, the quote from Rick Rule that he had said that kind of seeded this video. And I thought, well, Rick, we've already got that part licked. We've got the 50% down turn in the mining stocks, and now we're ready for an uptick. And you know, I just wanted to reiterate that to you guys, that at times this is very difficult, but it's normal to have these major drawdowns. No fun. And let's be real, right? There's like no absolute guarantee that these things are going to come screaming back, but we know right now there's massive value present in the mining stocks and even in the metals. So let's hang in there, but let's talk about a few other things that Rick's also said over the years. I think it's important that we all recognize what an active, generous, intelligent, and successful guy he has been. I bet I've watched over 200 hours of Rick Rule interviews over the years, and I've learned more from him probably by far than anyone else who generously donates their time to be interviewed by a number of sources. So thank you, Rick Rule, on behalf of myself and everyone out there who invests in these sometimes treacherous waters of gold, silver, and precious metal mining stocks. So now that we've covered the 50% drawdown in the price of many of the mining stocks, let's revisit what my daughter said this morning that she heard from Rick Rule. Just because something is inevitable does not mean that it's imminent, and that directly applies to the situation that we're in right now. We know that it's inevitable that the price of gold and silver will rise in the future, the value. We know that the mining stocks are just beat to a pulp from almost any historical measure. We know it's inevitable that they will rise. We believe that. That's why we're still invested in the sector. That doesn't mean that it's imminent. Bad news, guys, that doesn't mean that it's going to happen tomorrow morning or next month or even before the end of the year. We have to have courage and patience, and as long as we believe in the underlying fundamental thesis and value in our investments, we need to stay the course. And I'll wrap up with two things. Something funny and something I think very deeply meaningful that Rick often says. The funny thing I hear him say is that he's correctly predicted 3 of the last 17 recessions. To me, that shows he's humble and understands that he's not some all-knowing, omniscient type guy. He's also said something that I think is deeply meaningful, and I've heard him say this a few times, if I heard it correctly. He said he had a shift in his career at a certain point where he went from focusing on just making money to helping people. And that when he did that, he found that he was actually much more successful and that his career had a much deeper meaning. And I believe that because Rick is so generous in sharing information, and I know he does a ton of interviews with a lot of people. And you never know. Someday we may get rid of that giant stuffed bear and actually have the real live Rick Rule here in the basement. We'll all look forward to that day. But in the meantime, we'll stay the course. And remember, I appreciate you joining me here in the basement. You're always welcome. And until next time, you be well.